All right, we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second Startup in Dentistry live webinar. And I'm joined with an all-round good guy, Dr. Bobby Bhandel. Bobby has very kindly agreed to share his startup journey, warts and all. We've been having a good catch up before this webinar started, so I think you're going to hear it all, and I'm sure Bobby's got a great story to tell. Just like last time, guys, it's a super informal presentation. It's really nice to get to have Bobby agree to share his story. So please do engage, please do ask him questions and try and sort of glean his journey. Before we start officially, I'll just go through the housekeeping. I'm sure many of you were on the last call as well. We've got the chat box and the Q&A session, so please keep all your questions to the Q&A session section if you can, because then Bobby and I can answer the questions either live or we can type our responses later. Obviously chats for just continuous conversation as well. There are going to be other webinars as well, so again, if there are any topics that you want, please reach out in the Facebook group and we'll try and get some speakers. We've had, I think, 2 or 3 other speakers lined up, somebody on hypnosis or hypnotherapy in dentistry, and a few other speakers lined up as well. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Bobby. Bobby, hi, how are you today?
Hey, Midi, yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Oh, good. I feel a bit like Michael Parkinson when I do this. Or I was going to make some crude joke about Prince Harry and you being on the interview. So don't say anything about your family. Yeah. So Bobby, thanks for joining us. And obviously, you've had a lot of feedback in the group. A lot of people have been asking you. So do you want to just start by introducing yourself, where you're from, where you graduated, and take it from there?
Yeah, sure, guys. So thanks again for inviting me. So I graduated from University of Birmingham 2013. And I'm based in the Midlands, a place called Leamington Spa. Pretty much where I was born and bred, normal family here. So I went up north for a bit, worked in North Wales during my VT year, lived in Chester, and then got married and moved back here. And yeah, decided to set up shop here as well.
Nice. So I think, Bobby, what we'll do then is we'll get started. We'll go through the presentation. And then, if you don't mind, we'll ask a whole bunch of questions. Let's do it that way. So if we get started with the presentation, if you want to share your screen, then we'll go through the questions after. That's it. Nice one, Bobby. Yeah, over to you.
Cool. Yeah. So Midi just kindly asked me to share a bit about my journey, basically start to finish. So I did put some posts in the group and had a lot of people messaging me. So I thought I'd just put a little something together, just explaining, kind of our journey really to get to where we got to. So our practice is called Avenue Dental, and that's just our logo that we've got there. So, I mean, the first thing when you start in a squat really for me was, starting with why. So kind of figuring out, why do you want to do a squat practice, or why do you want to own your own practice in the first place? Is it to get rich? Is it to, just want to have your own thing? There's so many things you've got to think of. But as I was saying to Midi earlier, basically for me, the main thing was I was in a great practice pretty much since I graduated for about 5-6 years. And the principal ended up selling it to a corporate. And within pretty much 1.5 to 2 years, it went from a 6-surgery, pretty much thriving practice, about 20-30 staff, everybody just left. They literally just ran it to the ground. They just had no care for people. It was just all about the money. And for me personally, I just thought, I don't want to end up in my 40s, 50s in that same situation, where I'm in a practice and it gets sold, and then, you're almost like starting from scratch again. So at that point, basically, I had to start looking around really. So first thing was a move practice, but then it was, do you do a squat? Do you buy a practice? and started basically looking at all of our options. So where do you start is another really common question, that I've been asked by a lot of people. So for me, when I was weighing up buying a practice or doing a squat, for me personally, I didn't want to move out of the area where I live. So that narrowed things down massively, because all my family, all my friends, my whole life is where we live. So there was a couple of practices on the market around here, but again, when we looked into them, some of them had NHS contracts and I didn't want to go down the NHS route. And some of them were just priced just stupidly, out of range. So for me, fortunately, I was quite lucky. Our family owned a building, needed a lot of work doing to it, but had the opportunity to take it over. And it was actually a building that I lived in as a kid, which was quite nice. I used to live in the flat upstairs. So it's kind of coming full circle, really. The other thing just take into consideration, if you are looking, locations, the place that we picked, it's on a main road, right opposite a supermarket, in a really busy area. So it's just another thing to think about, footfall when you do start looking at different places. Although it is across the road from another really well-established practice, who I'm guessing weren't too happy about us opening.
Bobby, I'll just ask a question there. Have you had any interactions with the other practice yet, or?
Well, yeah, I have actually, just last night. Well, the practice was actually being sold over the last year or so, and then it's actually a colleague who worked with me for the last 5 years in the same practice as that ended up buying it.
Wow.
So I mean, while we worked together, we were good friends. I mean, we had a good laugh and whatnot. But since we both knew what was going on, but neither of us had spoken for the last 6 months, pretty much. And last night I ripped the plaster off and spoke to them.
Good man, good man.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, it's okay. I mean, there's enough patients out there for everyone. Everybody's practice is different, you know what I mean?
100%.
So, there's no need to be greedy, basically.
No, exactly that, man.
And then, yeah, another really common question that a lot of people asked me was about the building process, what the actual stages. So for us, pretty much started with a blank canvas. We had an empty building. So first port of call was speak to architects about planning permission. So we had a bit of extra land on the back of our property. So to get a decent sized practice in the property, we needed to do an extension. So we did that kind of during COVID. Unfortunately, the council were a nightmare. They took 9 months to approve planning, start to finish, before we could start any work, just because of shortages during COVID. And then once we got planning permission, second stage is obviously getting building control drawings, which seems to me like a lot of dentists don't actually know what they are. And building control.
Explaining what they are, because that is a good question, I think.
Yeah, so building control drawings are just the actual detailed drawings that you need that explain everything, how it's going to be built. So all your kind of fire escapes, fire routes, your plumbing, wiring, everything, and it all has to be signed off by building control inspectors, so either by local council or by private companies that you can use. And you're not allowed to open until you have your building control certificate signed off. And it's one of the things that CQC asked to see, well, they asked us at least anyway, as part of the documentation for our application.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they need that as part of your actual CQC application then, yeah?
Yeah, they wouldn't let us open without it. Yeah. It almost seemed like they were reliant on it, because the CQC inspector that we had didn't seem to know that much about building work and dental practices in general. She wasn't from a dental background.
Right.
So it was like they just kind of use all that as a tick box. So they just assume that as long as the building controller signed it off, they assume that it's all okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, and the other thing is you can't really get quotes from builders until you've got builder control drawings, because builder control drawings have all the specific details that you need for your building work. So the other thing I noticed is a lot of dentists have been saying, we've got this building that we've been looking at, and we've gone to an equipment company, and they're giving us a quote to do all the work. And then I've asked them, well, have you've got builder control drawings? And they're like, no, what's that? And it's like, well, how can you have a quote for a whole load of building work when you've actually got no drawings? So you could kind of build it, but it wouldn't be compliant.
That's so true. It's just a finger in the air kind of. It's an estimate from the building, the dental companies, isn't it?
Yeah, they just give estimates, for kind of like more like for the surgeries really, but to get an actual detailed, accurate quote, you really need those drawings, because anything else, the building quotes vary so much. My building quotes vary by about 250 grand.
Whoa.
Start to finish, yeah. We had a fair few quotes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for us in particular, we had to because we had to do the extension before we could build the practice. We ended up using a local builder who came through family recommendation, did some work for them. So we got them to do the extension. And then we had a dental builder who came through our equipment company as a recommendation, who we ended up using to do our build work for the dental practice. But unfortunately, we had a lot of problems with builders. So the first set of builders, we had to ask them to leave because they weren't VAT registered and they were charging us VAT.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I mean, unless you know loads about building work, you don't know, until you start. So it's only when the dental builders started working on the project, when they came along, they started saying to me, this isn't quite right, that isn't quite right, you should be questioning them about this, and they helped me out quite a lot. In the end, I had to get rid of them.
That must have been tough.
Yeah, it was an absolute nightmare.
Dear.
Absolute nightmare. Fortunately, the dental builders, they managed to kind of rectify everything, and get their own brickies in to finish it off. But yeah, it was difficult, really difficult.
Do you mind naming who your dental building contractors were, and what stage did you bring dental builders in?
Yeah, so they're called Billingham Refurbishments. So they're just like a local family-based company in the Midlands.
Yeah.
It's in Walsall. So they were involved right from the start, but they didn't want to start the work until the extension was finished.
Right.
But the guys who were doing the extension started running really late, so they decided to start on the front end of the practice, start partitioning it and doing bits at the front.
Yeah.
And that's when they started seeing everything, and that's when we started figuring everything out.
Right. Oh dear.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I can only imagine, mate. Cool, I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, so yeah, for us in particular, so that's what happened. I mean, touch wood, it was all good in the end. They sorted everything out, they fixed everything, got the practice up and running, and now they're working on the flats upstairs. So we've got 2 flats directly above us, and they're finishing those off as we speak.
Was that part of your business model, the flats, in bringing in an income from the flats, or is that separate?
Yeah, so the flats are going to bring a rental income, so that will just help pay for some of the bills in the practice. But the way the building work's been designed, it's been designed in such a way that we can run upstairs in the future if we need to.
That's great.
So we can knock through the back and basically create more surgeries upstairs.
That's brilliant.
So I mean, we've got space for probably about 7 to 8 surgeries, really.
Oof, that's not bad. You're a mini corporate yourself already.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Cool, I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, so kind of the next stage really was just about working out the actual business process. So once you kind of got an idea of the building, things like that, is to actually just work on the actual money side of things. So for me personally, I mean, where I started was I just started getting quotes for everything, anything and everything that I could think of. I just pretty much rang every company and I just started putting everything into spreadsheets. And yeah, I started asking all my old principals that I've worked for, you know, what everything, you know, what their running costs were. And then basically just started building that business plan from that. In terms of the business plan, I mean, I just used a template from what my accountants gave me and just used bits and bobs from, you know, what I could find online. And then slowly just kind of built it out. And again, did my own cash flow forecasts for the loan.
With your business plan, how accurate do you think that was to what you've actually started in terms of a running plan? Do you think it was accurate, or did you need it just for raising finance?
No, it was actually pretty accurate. In terms of all the expenditure, I mean, the only thing I would say is obviously once the build work started, costs went up quite a bit because we're quite an old building. So once they started stripping things, you know, you found, you know, quite a lot of other things that I needed spending on. But in terms of the actual business figures, I mean, a few things have changed, but it's pretty accurate. The only thing I'll say, I mean, I'm not going to complain about it, is that we're actually making more money already than what I predicted.
that's a good business plan.
That's a good sign, yeah. Yeah.
That's what you want with a business plan, because I think when you draw up a business plan, you're meant to do 3 versions or 2 versions. You're meant to do a pessimistic and a realistic, because I think if your business survives on a pessimistic business, then you've got a solid business model. So I don't know, did you do that? Did you have like a worst case scenario? Did you throw your numbers in?
Yeah, I mean, the one that we used was a worst case scenario.
Nice. That's good, isn't it?
So yeah, we kind of based it on, you know, as bad as it could get, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you make it work from that?
Nice. Should we talk a little bit about, listen, I'll let you finish the whole presentation and I'll try and go back and ask you questions, but I want to ask a question about your broker as well. So I'll save that until after we finish.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, once all the finance was in place, you know, once your business plan is done, going out to banks, as soon as your finance is approved, then, you know, you can hit the button and start your building work. That's how we pretty much run it. Yeah, other really important things with the part of the business process. So yeah, getting CQC application in early, because it takes 3 or 4 months. We use Rajiv, dental compliance made easier, and they made it pretty much as easy as it can get, really. You know, they just applied everything and they got us through with no problems. And then yeah, working alongside part of the business plan really is, you know, marketing plan, branding, and planning recruitment as well. And we started doing all that kind of stuff quite early, really, and that's helped us out quite a bit, especially with the marketing, because we opened with a pre-existing list pretty much because we started quite early. I mean, the downside was we did lose some people, because then you know, you get people who want to be seen sooner, and our opening got a bit more delayed than what we hoped. But on the plus side, we opened, you know, with a list.
That's amazing. So again, I want to keep this slide up for later because this is important. These are key things that we need to know. I think, you know, both the dental compliance made easier. How did they make your life easier? That marketing plan, it'd be great for you to share exactly how you did it. And then just even branding and recruitment. It must have been a heck of a lot to do on your own.
Yeah, hell of a lot. You know, we had some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a bit of help, really. So, you know, you can't do everything on your own. That's the main thing.
No, nice. Yeah, you're getting loads of questions coming in on that, so I'll leave those ones to the end then.
Yeah, no problem. These are just a few pictures, kind of where we started, really. So we're like kind of corner unit on a main road, end road terrace. The middle picture was partway through when they demolished part of the back end before the extension went up. And that picture on the end was just an open shell initially. And then if you have a look here, these are just a few pictures of our reception, how it looks at the moment. And that is a picture of our first surgery.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, I guess this was one of the main things really. I was talking about with Midi earlier as well, about all the problems, you know, that you come across, and you know, being able to tackle them. And I think resilience is a really big thing, you know, when you're starting a squat, because you know, when you're just used to being an associate, you're just a dentist, you go to work, you come home, you know, happy days. But when you start something like this, you know, it is massive and it does take over your life. You can pretty much do whatever you want, you know, to try and not let it, but it will in some way or the other. You know, for us in particular, we had loads of problems with builders, as I've already said. I mean, to be honest with you, we had problems with pretty much almost every tradesman that's worked on the project, to some extent. We had to deal with ill health. My dad unfortunately got really unwell and he nearly passed away right before we were about to open. But touch wood, he's doing good now. Project management, coordination. If you don't have a project manager, you know, I was doing it all myself. Again, probably wasn't a great idea because I was still working as an associate and then I couldn't be on site every single day. And then, you know, trying to manage all the different tradespeople coming in, doing different jobs and so on, it gets really tough. Things get missed, you can't inspect everything, and that's when, you know, work standards slip. So, you know, that was a really big issue. CQC caused us a fair few delays as well. So they did our inspection, and then they wanted to see a couple of things, but the inspector then went off. You know, she was off for about a month. And they wouldn't let us change inspector, so we were sat in a fully finished practice, you know, for a month when we weren't allowed to do anything, and they wouldn't give us another inspector.
That's crazy.
Recruiting dentists, that was not fun. I've had two so far who said they were going to come and then backed out last minute, even after signing contracts.
Can I ask why? Why do you think they backed out?
Yeah, so one was, I think one went back to her other practice and told them, use it as leverage, and she's got more money out of them. And the second one was too scared to tell her current principals, even after she signed the contract.
That's
yeah.
Fear is a big one, isn't it, in dentistry?
Yeah, she was so scared. I mean, she was really scared that she was going to lose a job. You know, she was working there 4 days a week. She wanted to cut a day. So, you know, I encouraged her to have the conversation. She said she was going to do it. And I said, you know, I'll support you no matter what. And, you know, I said, and just explain to her, the chances are, if they really like you, you know, they're not going to want to sack you if you know, explain to them that you want to do something different or just cut a day and go elsewhere. You know, dentists are hard to find at the moment as it is.
Yeah.
But she just couldn't bring herself to do it for whatever reason.
Crazy.
Like I said, just fear. Yeah. I guess the next one was, this was just a couple of weeks ago. The dentist across the road, you know, if you type in our name on Google, they were actively marketing as us, you know, in their Google AdWords.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I even had another local dentist who owns a very big practice in town. I mean, this guy like must be coming up to retirement. He must be very well off. He's got, you know, I think like a 10 surgery practice, and he was commenting on our ads to tell patients to go to his practice.
No idea.
Yeah, it's just mad.
That's very interesting.
And then I guess the other thing is time management. So I still work as an associate 1 or 2 days in another practice until we get busy enough over here. But it is tough. Like, you've got to learn to really manage, you know, your time. You know, make sure you're being as efficient as possible and actually getting everything done, but actually making sure that you've got enough time to do everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a quick whistle-stop tour, really. And yeah, thanks for your attention.
Oh, very good, mate. Thank you, mate. Feel free to maybe stop sharing the screen and then we'll go from there. Bobby, thanks for that. I thought that was a really honest you know, from start to finish. It was nice to hear the truth, because everyone shows you the glossy after pictures. They don't show you the bit in between. So it's quite interesting. There's loads of questions already in the group. There's about 25 or so people on the call. So I'm sure there'll be lots more questions coming in. But I just wanted to start by just sort of asking you a few general ones, and then we'll go through the written questions as well. I've also given guys that are listening the opportunity. Anyone who would like to speak live or ask a question to Bobby directly, just raise your hand, and then we can allow you to speak and then share your questions. Or if you've got a specific scenario you really want answering, don't miss this opportunity. Let's try and help each other and sort of find the answers. So Bobby, just a couple of general questions. I mean, what was the worst part of the whole process for you?
Yeah, managing builders and tradesmen, 100%.
And what would you do differently? I guess that's the next question.
What was that, sorry?
If you were doing it again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, so if I was going to do it again, I would something that I didn't do, which I should have done, is have actual schedules of work. So exactly, written contracts of what's going to be done, when it's going to be done, at which point, which contractors are going to be, coming in, doing what, inspected, making sure it's all signed off. So one of the main builders, kind of helped me project manage it, but it still wasn't good enough. It needed to be a lot tighter.
Yeah. Now, so how long did your project take from start to finish? Let's talk from the first brick being laid or the first wall being knocked down, start to finish, to opening your doors.
Yeah, so it was around 7 months, 7 to 8 months.
That's not bad, including the build, right? And CQC.
Yeah, considering we got the extension up, it's not bad. I mean, the work at pace. I mean, CQC gave us a deadline as well initially. So they were working literally, 12, 13-hour days to get it done.
Yeah.
Towards the end. So it wasn't bad, to be fair.
And you mentioned looking at some practices in your area before to buy. What sort of prices were you seeing to buy existing practices?
Yeah, like well over $1 million.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the question, I think one person's already asked it, but if you're happy to share, roughly what sort of cost do you think, if we separate in building work and equipment, so what were your costs?
Yeah, so kind of ignoring the extension, because it was done as a kind of joint venture with me and my dad. So if you ignore the extension part, just the practice, the build work itself totaled around £110,000.
Yeah.
And then equipment, we're standing at roughly about 130, 140, something like that.
That's brilliant. And how many surgeries have you got up?
So we've got one surgery fully up and running. We have a second surgery almost ready. We've got the chair. We're just waiting on cabs and the other bits. We've got CT scanner and a full running decon and a full running office consultation suite.
So that's amazing. So for 140 grand, you basically got a 2 surgery practice. Oh, and then the building work as well. Sorry. So 250 grand, you've basically got a 2 surgery practice with a CBCT.
Yeah, bearing in mind some of it's on finance.
Yeah, no, obviously, yeah, which is obviously the best way to go. Right, before I because I could ask you questions all day, I think it's only fair that I let other people ask questions. So if you don't mind, Bobby, I'll ask the questions, and if you just answer them freely. So the first one is, Bobby, if there are no structural changes, do you still need building control?
So our building control inspector said yes, if it's a material change of use in the building. So, for example, if it was, like a retail shop, and then now you're setting up as a dental practice, because it's a material change in use, they've advised that you do need building control drawings.
And just to add to that, Bobby, do you need planning permission now, do you think, for that kind of thing?
No, I don't think you need planning permission. I think you only need planning permission if you're going to do an extension or if you're going to be changing the use of the building.
Yeah, I think that's right, isn't it? I think even the use of the building, I think nowadays, depending if it was a residential, maybe that's one you have to change. But commercial, I don't think you need planning permission. But I agree with you, the building control, if you're doing any significant material amendments, you might need building control.
Yeah, I mean, if you're unsure, the best thing to do is just ring your council, your local building control department. Most of the planning officers are actually really friendly. I mean, our guy, he came out and met us, before, and he had a look around and he told us exactly what we needed to do.
Nice. Oh,
And it doesn't cost anything either. They don't normally charge for that.
I wish my building control was as nice as yours. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. Next question from Arnold. Where would you go to find architects who understand the needs of a dental practice? So how would you find dental architects, or do you need dental architects?
Yeah, so we use architect called MVDC, a guy called Farabod. So he's actually based in Glasgow. So I found him just through the Facebook groups, to be honest with you. I just used to Google, I used all these groups, just used to Google architects. I spoke to a few, and he was one of the guys who really seemed to understand exactly what we wanted to do, and the needs of the practice. And he did a really good job. I mean, they weren't the cheapest in the world, but they did a good job.
What was the name of that architect?
They're called NVDC.
NVDC. Cool. Arnold, I hope that's the question answered. Then 2 questions from Zara. Hi, Bobby. Thanks for your time. Do the architects bring their own building control? How do you know that the architect, building control, CQC are all on the same page, i.e. that you are going to be compliant from both building control and CQC? And also, did you have to get different building control quotes? But I think they can be answered in one of those 2.
Yeah, so architects and building control. So building control, you've got 2 choices. You can either go to a private company, or generally you can go to your local council. So again, this is another problem we had. So we used a private company. The main reason we used a private company was because with a private company, they can give initial notice to your council and you can start your work straight away. Whereas with our local council, they were running on about an 8-week delay at that time. And so we couldn't start our work until they give us the notice and come out and have a look. So we decided to go with a private company that the architects recommended, but the private company turned out to be useless. The inspector was horrible. He actually halted our work, and I had a lot of disagreements with them. And in the end, I sacked them off, and I went back to the local council, and the local council took over, and they were brilliant.
It's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope that answered that question, Zara. And then there was a question about getting different building control quotes, but I think you've answered that by going to the council, really.
Yeah. So I mean, you can get quotes from private companies, but your council will give you a quote, as well, and then you can just compare and work it out for yourself.
Yeah, like you said, I think a lot of builders prefer to have their own building control because they've got their mobile, they know who's seeing them, and they also know that if there is something wrong, the building control will give them a chance to put it right, and will probably guide them in the right direction. So that's why a lot of people prefer the private ones. But like you said, the council they follow the law, so they're on your side if anything, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's luck of the draw with these type of things. You just don't know what your office is going to be like. Some of them are nice, some of them ain't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, just an anonymous question about builders in general. It was sort of addressed to me, but you can answer it as well, Bobby. It said, would you recommend non-dental builders? I think I suggested that non-dental builders are just as good. And how do we tell if they are going to be reliable in terms of knowing dental building regulations? I'll answer that first bit. I think you need a relationship with the builder. You need someone that you know that after the build, you can pick up the phone and you'll be able to speak to them. So that's the first thing on whoever it is. Try and see work that they've done. Obviously, if it's a non-dental builder, you need to have at least an idea of the quality of work that they can do. In terms of the dental regulations, you need to find out if they're hungry and they want to do it, because they will come at you and they'll say, oh, I've read this, I've read this, I've read that. But notwithstanding, I wouldn't touch a non-dental builder if I didn't have a good dental company behind me. So like, I work closely with Anglian Dental, and they're just geniuses at the compliance side. And if I have someone like that behind me working alongside them, they're not doing the build, they can work together. And I tell, Anglian, look, you're not doing the build, but you're doing all the equipment if you take care of this project. So I would almost get your dental company to project manage that build, and then that could work. So I hope that answers that. Would you agree with that, Bobby?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I would only use a non-dental builder if you've got a really good dental company managing them and telling them exactly what needs to be done and giving them all the spec.
Yeah.
Me personally, I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. I'd probably use builders who've got experience with dental practices.
Yeah.
It's one of these funny things. There's just loads of little things, you know, that they just know how to do that the regular builders just wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the plumbing and so on, you know. But you know, and don't go by quote either, because we had some non-dental builders who were quoting us really cheap. But again, because I don't think they really fully understood exactly what was required, even though they had the plans. So just be careful.
No, that's a really good point. I'm doing some work with some dental builders now, and the quote that I actually got from the non-dental builder was slightly more expensive. So again, like, you know, you can negotiate, and obviously there's a benefit if you can get experience and value. But I think there is dental tax is a thing. So you do sometimes get over quoted on certain things. So, you know, it's a hard one. Like Bobby said, you really need somebody in your corner that knows what they're doing. Cool.
Yeah, and the best thing is if you can find a builder who you can go and see, you know, work that they've done, or speak to people who they've done work for, you know, especially previous practices, you know,
Yeah.
that would be really handy.
Cool. Quite a few more questions have come in. Another anonymous question: how did you go about getting a pre-existing list? Did you have an online sign-up form or opening offers? So do you want to tell us a lot more about your marketing and your pre-opening marketing, Bobby?
Yeah, so to be honest, it was actually really simple. Because we're on a main road, we put up massive banners around the building with a QR code on it, and it just linked to a landing page. So we had a lot of local people kind of just registering in that way. And then the other thing we did was we just ran Facebook ads on a really small budget, just to our local area. And again, it was just all linked to a landing page.
That's a really cool idea. And how many,
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of numbers, what kind of things did you get?
Yeah, so I mean, overall, over a couple of months, we had, you know, well over 100 inquiries. And out of that, so far, I mean, we've been open for just over 4 weeks, but including Christmas. And at the moment, we have 51 patients on the books, either booked or waiting to be booked or waiting to be seen. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So do you think if you had your second surgery open now, you'd already be filling it in?
No, not yet. Not yet. But hopefully going to get it in when our therapist joins us. So probably March, April time. By then, yeah, I think we should be ready.
Cool. A bit more on finance. How did you establish projected revenue and expenditure? What are realistic figures? It's a hard question to answer that one, Bobby.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. So I mean, I spoke to accountants about that a little bit. For me, the way I worked it out was by kind of working out an average hourly rate. You know, what you would want to work for. You know, £250 per hour, etc. And then kind of multiplying how many available surgery hours you've got and how much of your book you can fill, and then increasing that incrementally as the weeks go on, month by month. That's how I work mine out.
Yeah, I think I was very similar. And I think this is so I'm not sure who R is, but in answer to your question, this is where you've got to be the most pessimistic you can. Well, run 3 different models. So with a lot of these spreadsheets, you can put the numbers in, delete them, and just keep playing with it until you see. But like you said, you know, you have an hourly rate, say, right, well, normally in my associate practice, I do this. Then you divide it by half, then divide it by a quarter. And if you make a quarter of what you'd normally make, or even a fifth, and you're still making a profit, then you know your business models are good. How do you know all the expenditures? It's hard. You just got to guesstimate them. And I guess the danger is not putting enough in. So I would put more stuff in than you think you need, and then try and see if the business makes sense at that point.
Yeah, there was definitely way more expenditure than even what's in the business plan at the moment.
Which dental equipment suppliers did you end up going with? And I guess the next question is why? Why did you choose them?
Yeah, so I use a company called Bradgate Dental Equipment. They're a local company based around Leicestershire, and I already had a relationship with them.
And how was it? How was the project from their side?
Yeah, they were brilliant. So I mean, because they knew the builders, so from the dental side of things, they were able to manage a lot of that themselves. So for me, it was a bonus.
Nice. A question by Chani. How many patients were on your list on day one? So D-Day.
Yeah, so that was, like I said, we had around about 100 that we started with. So what they started to do was the week before, well, about 2 weeks before we opened the books, the girls that are working for me, they started ringing everyone, started booking everyone in. And then, as I said, out of those so far, we've got about 51 who are on the books.
Awesome.
We're still getting inquiries every day.
Nice. So what did day one look like? What time did you open? How many patients did you have in your books?
Yeah, so day one, we started slow, to be fair. So I think we only saw a couple of patients, just one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Yeah, I mean, even now we're still finding out, things when you see patients, stuff that you still need to order. You thought you had all your stock, and then it's like, hang on, get me this, and it's like, no, we ain't got that.
I still remember my first filling that I did in practice. I'm pretty sure I didn't have a matrix band. I'm pretty sure I was like plugging it in. Classic.
Yeah, we had a patient in for perio treatment today, and we didn't have any pocketing pros other than BB pros, and it's just like,
You take
yeah,
it for granted, don't you? All the stuff you need. It's so
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I'd imagine in 3 months we'll probably still be finding stuff that we need.
No, of course. A couple more questions, and then I'm going to throw it up. Anyone that would like to speak live, please let me know. Raise your hand, and we'll be happy to take live questions. Danish has asked, would you be happy to share an example budgeting plan, worst, best case numbers? So, I mean, I'll leave that for you privately. Maybe they can reach out to you on, is it on the Facebook group if they want details of that?
Yeah, you can just message me on Facebook.
Okay, cool. One more question from Zara. After completing the extension, how long did the build of the practice CQC? I think we might have answered. How long did the build of the actual practice CQC take from opening? So after the initial build, how long?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit difficult to answer because half the practice was already built, if that makes sense, because while the extension was being finished, the other half of the front half of the practice was being done like at the same time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a case of the extension was done and then all the practice kind of started. It was done all together.
Sure. So roughly though, was it half the project, do you think, or?
It was probably less than that, to be fair. It's probably a quarter. I mean, once the extension was up, that was just the kind of CT decon room and staff room. So I mean, it only took them probably about 2 months, to be fair. Extension was up. Yeah, it was quick. Yeah.
And a good question actually from Chani again. How do you manage the staff when you're away working as an associate?
Yeah, again,
CCTV.
Yeah, we do have CCTV. But yeah, no, we check in, we use Slack so we communicate. Even when I'm not in the practice, we speak a few times a day. We'll have a call at lunch, just check in, see what's going on. And we use Dentistry, so I can always log in and I can see what's going on if patients have been booking in, and we use because we use Robo Reception when I did Grant's course. So it's all set up on Trello, like our CRM. So again, you can log into that and see what they've been up to, see who they've been calling, see what's going on. But you got to have a certain level of trust as well, like in your staff.
You got to close your eyes, haven't you? You can't look at everything.
I mean, like one of my nurses has come with me actually from an old practice, from one of my old practices. So if you've worked with them before, you've kind of got an idea, that they're not sat there twiddling their thumbs.
So you know what my next question is. So go on then. How many days are you working as an associate, and how many days are you in your own practice?
Yeah, so I'm just doing 1 day as an associate, and then I've got an associate working here starting this week for 1 day a week, and then I'm working in the practice 3 days a week.
Nice. So you've got, okay, 1 day where you're not clinical, 1 day
Yeah,
as
yeah,
3 days
yeah.
clinical. Okay,
Yeah.
fair. That's a good split. Why have you kept your associate position?
Because that associate position is doing a number of things. So at the moment, that income is basically paying my bills for this practice
Nice.
until this practice starts to make some money.
Yeah,
Second thing is I still enjoy it. I still like going out to another practice, other
yeah,
people, different team. And the third thing is I've got a really good relationship in the other practice where I work. And I've promised them that even if I give up my associate job with them, eventually I'll still do their implant work for them.
right. So it works well. No, that's fair. I think that's
Yeah, they've helped me massively with this as well. Because I've got a good relationship with them, they were happy to help me and they've been really flexible.
when did you tell them about your squat practice? Did you tell them early doors or
Yeah, I told them as soon as I started the job with them.
yeah?
So I started there just over a year ago, and I told them my plans pretty much straight away. And they were fine.
Because I've seen a lot of posts, you've probably seen them as well in the startup. Oh, I'm thinking about setting up at half a mile away from my existing practice. I'm thinking about doing this, I'm thinking about doing that. Have you got any answers to anyone that's thinking of those things? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, but that practice where I work is, 45 minutes away from where I live.
Yeah.
So there's no kind of conflict of interest. I mean, I probably wouldn't, I know for a fact I wouldn't set up a practice half a mile away from them. I just wouldn't do that. It's just, you know, for me personally, it depends on what you like as a person and what your ethics are like, really.
Yeah.
That's just a personal decision. But me personally, I wouldn't do that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't set up shop, somewhere out, but I'll do it in a different area.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that's great. I'll try and whistle through these questions quickly because there's still about 20 questions. I think we've already answered 20. So what are your prices like? Have you had a different range of patients, mainly professionals, families? I guess that's area specific, but just generally, how did you come about your pricing structure?
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, we're in a relatively affluent area. We're fully private. There's pretty much no or limited access to NHS dentistry in this area at the moment. Our prices are, we're not the most expensive in the area, but we're definitely not the cheapest.
So how did you choose which way you wanted to go?
We decided to go slightly higher rather than lower, mainly based on the type of patients we want in this practice long term. We've set our practice up to be, slightly higher end. And the way I've worked out the business plan is that, we don't want to be a volume-based practice. We would rather keep our fees slightly higher. It might take us a little bit longer to get to where we want. But that said, we'll build hopefully a loyal patient base. Seeing less patients who are paying slightly higher. But everybody's got their own, way of working their models. It just depends on what type of practice you want to be.
Yeah, no, fair. A question about the project, because I think you've answered it already, but if you can maybe just answer it again. How much did the project cost in total and how many surgeries did you fit out? So I think you said you've pretty much fitted out 2 surgeries. You're just waiting for the cabinetry. But what was your total project cost for the practice again?
So the building cost was just over 110k. And then equipment and all the rest of it, we were looking about 150. And then plus a few additionals that are on finance.
That's including your CBCT scanner?
The CT scanner's on finance. So
Oh, so the 150 includes the CBCT in the finance or not?
give me 2 seconds. I'll wait.
Yeah, no
I'll
worries.
wait.
No worries. While you're working that out, I'm just going to read the next question out loud and see if I can answer it. In London, I was quoted 450k for building a 3 surgery practice in a shell and core property from a dental turnkey. How did you get it down to 250, including the building work? Did you do any of it yourself?
No.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest saving for us, I'll be honest with you, was our building work. Our builders were a lot cheaper than everything else we had quoted. Like I said, all the building quotes came in, probably 50 to 100 grand more than what they quoted. So I think a lot of it comes down to who you use for your builders.
Sorry, is that 50K? Is that the good builders or the ones that were started?
That's the good builders.
Okay, so their price was still good in the end as well.
Yeah, the good builders. Yeah, their price was really reasonable, and they'd done working practices that I know, and they've done working practice, a really nice practice in the same town as well. Where one of my best friends works, so I kind of knew what the work was like.
Whoever asked that anonymous question, you need to clarify, because it says 450 for building. Do you mean just building work, or do you mean 450 including kitting out the 3 surgeries? Because that would vary different. I think you're saying 450 for 3 surgeries and all the equipment and everything, which in London isn't unheard of, because you could say 200, 250 for the build, easy. Then 200 to kit out the surgeries is probably not far off. So yeah, I'm not sure if that. We need more details on that one. Right, I'm trying to whistle through them, but honestly, they keep coming. We might have to put a limit on questions, guys. So maybe just a couple more minutes and then no more questions. Danish asked, did you source a new dental accountant as part of your process? What can you expect to pay per year? That's a cheeky question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's a fair question. Go on.
It's an interesting question. So I actually sourced a dental accountant before I started the project, but I'm actually leaving that accountant now for another accountant. I'm not going to name names, but they weren't as helpful as they made out to be, and the fees were extortionate. I mean, to be honest with you, I'll tell you what I've been quoted. So for my practice accounts, my personal accounts, my wife's tax return, they've quoted something about just over 10 grand a year. Yeah, and they're a London-based firm and quite a big firm. Well known in the dental field, put it like that.
You're not going to say. You're not going to say.
No, I'm not going to say.
You're a gentleman. That's there's an expression about pants being pulled down, and I think that's way too much. Yeah, that's a rip-off.
Yeah, I know. That's
I think 3 to 4K for a business is fair. Maybe 5K even. 10K is a lot. And can I ask
all the other quotes I had, when I've been talking to other companies, have been all roughly similar. No more than about 5K, including everything.
Yeah. Can I ask? Oh, I was going to ask about that. It'll come back to me. Okay. Well, I think that answers that question anyway. What was the next one? How long before opening did you start employing your staff? Because you mentioned that your staff started working and booking out the practice. When was your first payroll for your staff?
Yeah, so actually quite a bit before. So one of my staff members wasn't dental qualified. She was actually an air hostess at British Airways.
Nice.
So I actually took
good
her
move.
on. Yeah.
What's the customer service like?
Yeah. Patients love her already. Getting her on the dental side of things is tough. But yeah, customer service wise, she's great. Patients love her. But I took her on probably about 3 months before we opened. Just part-time, just to get her start used to going through everything, learning a bit about the dental side of things.
Was she number one? Did you take on a non-dental before a dental, or how did you do it?
Yeah, she was number one. So I took on non-dental, and then she started taking over like patient inquiries. Any of the patients that were inquiring at the time when we started running our ads. So she was looking after them, speaking to them, started building a rapport with them. And then dental wise was probably about 2 months before we opened.
Nice.
But she was incredible. I mean, every practice has that one person who makes the practice in terms of the CQC, the compliance side of things. I mean, she even does stuff now that even I don't know what she does. but I know she needs to do it to make the practice work. And having that person in your practice is a must. You have to
nice
find that person. I mean, she will hopefully, see out the rest of her career, and I will do everything I can to look after her.
That's so nice to hear, mate. When you respect your team, I think it's the most valuable thing.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to find that person though.
Yeah. Then Andy's asked, massive congratulations. If you had your time again, would you squat again, buy, and why? Which one would you do?
Yeah, no, I'd probably squat again, to be honest with you.
And why?
Yeah, I mean, hard as it was, I mean, if you buy a place, number one, yeah, well, most places are just too expensive at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it's still cheaper just to start out from scratch. And there's just so much demand at the moment, you know,
Yeah.
with everything that's going on in the NHS. You know, to me, it's a no-brainer.
No, I think that's good. We did ask this question, but is it a no-brainer for everyone, do you think?
Not for everyone. You got to have a certain type of personality to be able to do it. You know, you got to have a real hunger. You got to really, really want to do it, because it's like I said, it looks glamorous, but it really ain't. It's horrific. It's really hard work. I mean, this last month over Christmas, you know, I'm awake at 6 and I sleep at, you know, 12:01. I spent my whole Sunday in the practice doing
Yeah.
bits and bobs, decorators in, and you know, if you got family,
Yeah.
whatnot, yeah, it's tough. But
Let's
you
talk.
know,
Let's talk a little bit about your family, Bobby. So you've obviously you got a good lady.
yeah, I've got a great wife. Yeah, it's amazing.
How has it been? Seriously, like for her. How's this bit been for her?
Yeah, so I mean, she's been my rock, and like she supports me, you know, 100% of the way. She's helped me massively. But at the same time, I think she has found it tough, especially more recently, because you know you're just not around as much. You know, hopefully that'll change as time goes on. But yeah, initially it is tough.
Yeah. Did you have any regrets? Were there any points you thought, oh, I wish I hadn't bothered?
Yeah, loads of times. So like for the first 6 months, every single time a problem came up, it was like, yeah, I wish I didn't bother now. Then you ride it out towards the end, and then when
Yeah.
you know when you get there, then it's like, oh, no, it was worth it.
You've got a specific question, which I'm hoping you can answer. How did you sort out the hot water requirement for Legionellas? Was a new boiler enough, or did you install hot water pumps under each sink, or did you use a hot water?
Yeah, we've got no gas in the building. We actually got rid of gas, so we've gone electric.
Yeah.
So we have a hot water heater.
Okay.
And we're just waiting for new water connections still from our water company. So we're actually switching over to new water supply soon. But yeah, we've got a hot water electric heater. But we're on 3-phase power. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's only a little heater, but it's so powerful it heats up everything for the practice. That's how we
Yeah.
do it.
I mean, there's a great guy. I think he's part of the group, and he's probably on the call today. Peter as well. Peter.
Yeah, Peter did our Legionella risk assessment.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was brilliant.
Guy's a
Can't.
genius. Yeah. So I think everyone in the group that doesn't know Peter, reach out to Peter on the Facebook group. He's an absolute legend, and he gives so much knowledge to the group as well freely. He sends lots of information and lots of everything that you need. So yeah, reach out to Peter.
Yeah, and his Legionella like handbook, you know, that they give you is amazing. It's pretty much it's just got everything in there, your whole policy, you know, everything that you need to do, all the logbook. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Cool. Guys, we're going to try and wrap up in the next 10 minutes. So anyone that's hanging on, please just give us the next 10 minutes. Simon asked the question, did you have to pay VAT on the building and engineering work? I think the answer is yes, isn't it?
It depends if your builders are VAT registered or not. My builder's not VAT registered, so I didn't actually pay VAT.
Okay.
But they've got their own ways of doing their own accounting. But yeah, it just depends. But on all the equipment, you got to pay VAT. Yeah. You can't reclaim it.
And then, Peter's asked the question actually. Did you use any system to verify your contractors? That's Peter from.
Yeah. So the first ones, I mean, no official systems, but the first builder obviously came through family recommendation, and they fixed a job that another builder had done wrong. Ironically enough. So you know that's how we use the first builder. The second builders, no, again it was just because it came through the equipment company, and we knew other practices where they'd done work.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. If I was to do it again, the first thing I would check is are they VAT registered if they're charging you VAT, amongst other things.
Yeah. Zara's asked the question about the building and dental equipment company that you used. What was the name?
Yeah, they're called Bradgate Dental Equipment. They're just like a local kind of there's just two partners. They're based in Leicestershire. They're not like a big company. They're really reasonably priced. I mean, out of all the quotes for our equipment, they pretty much came out cheapest. We've got ADEC chairs, ADEC 300s. They supplied our CT scanner as well, Plan Mecca.
How much was your CT scanner, just out of interest?
Or CT was around about 45, something like that.
That's a good one, yeah. No, nice. Okay, sorry, a few more. How have you decided on your, well, we've kind of answered this one, but how have you decided on your price point for checkups? I think you said you kind of gone slightly more than most, yeah?
Yeah, well, we've had 2 squats open in the same town in the last year, so we're the third. So I've had to gauge it a little bit as well by, you know, what they've gone by. But I mean, we've kept our checkup fee is, you know, a reasonable price. I mean, we charge £75 for a new patient consult.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not a barrier as such, you know, for people to come in, but you know, it's not the cheapest either.
Okay, no, that's fair. I think that's a good way of doing it. Right, a couple more questions. How do you feel about associate? I think it's a general one. How do you feel about associates building your brand and representing your practice? Is the plan for yourself to build the list and then pass on the stable patients to an associate, or do you want to build it together?
Yeah, no, I mean, build it together, really. You know, we've ultimately, eventually, I don't actually want to be doing regular dentistry in this practice. So I actually just want to be doing the implant work. So that's my niche, and that's what I want to do more of. And then I want to build a practice basically where I've got associates doing bits that they enjoy. So, you know, someone doing the endo, someone doing the ortho, I'll do the implants, and basically build a little team that can do everything under one roof.
Nice. No, that makes a lot of sense. Did you buy used or new kits? I've got a funny story.
Everything was brand new.
Everything was brand new. I bought a second-hand compressor. Don't ever buy a second-hand compressor. It was 500 quid and it went bang after about a week. Painful lesson. Never do that. So there are some things, in fairness, in jokes aside, there are some second-hand things you can get, you know, like, but not your main things. The things you need to run the practice, you can't be messing around. Just stick hand in your pocket and just do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you start out, you know, you want as little problem as possible. You know, the last thing you want is to close down a surgery when you just open and, you know, turn patients away because something's broken and something's not right. It just ain't worth it, you know, for the sake of a few grand here and there when you're going to be spending a couple of £100 anyway, or whatever, you know, in the grand scheme of things. For me, it didn't really make sense.
No. A couple of questions have kind of been repeated, so I'll answer those at the end. One question about CCTV. Is it permissible anywhere, including the surgery rooms? I don't think it is permissible in the surgery rooms, is it?
Yeah, we only have it in the communal areas and outside externally, just covering our entrances.
Yeah, like we don't have it in the staff room, again, for obvious reasons. It's
we don't either, yeah.
We've just got it in like the hallways and then overlooking. Arnold asked another question. How many staff members did you start with, and are they full-time? As a startup, what qualities did you look out for in the staff that you hired? Good question, Arnold.
Yeah, so both are full-time. Yeah, qualities. I mean, for me, it was a bit easier because I had loads of my old nurses all asking me for jobs, but in the whole practice where I worked at, which was quite nice. So obviously, one of them I've taken with me, so I already know how she works. So like I said,
how did that go down with the practice you were in at the time?
Well, because they're a corporate now, you know, no one cares. So it doesn't make any difference.
Cool. That's the answer, guys. Take staff from corporates.
Well, I guess the key thing is not to poach them. Like I never approached anyone, you know, these guys, whoever came, they approached me. So, you know, if you're actively going out poaching them, it's a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's so true. That's so true. I think ultimately, if people want to leave, they're going to leave.
Exactly. If they're going to go anyway. You know, you might as well take them, you know, if you know they're good.
I think that honesty thing's a good thing, though. Again, to be honest and say to people, look, I haven't approached this person, because some people do get funny about it. I know one of my practices got a bit funny about it, and I just said, look, I'm not going to approach them. They have to sort it out with you. And then, eventually once, the nurse spoke to the practice, they agreed to let her go, and she came to me. So I did it that way, and that way I can sleep at night. I don't need
Yeah,
to
well, I've had this exact same scenario with one of my old principals, the guy who originally owned that practice, who's still, a friend, and he still gives me help. But one of the nurses in this practice has applied for the job here. And again, I just was honest with them and said, look, I haven't, approached her. This is the situation. And, he was fine. He's just like, at the end of the day, she's going to go, she's going to go. But it's like I said, it's just about being honest.
Yeah.
Have that conversation. Don't be scared.
No, exactly. And a couple more questions to finish off. Do you need public liability and special cover for HR?
You need public liability, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing CQC asks for.
Yeah. So you have to get that before you open. Did the bank give you all the money in one go, or you had to spend your own deposit first and then the bank give you the money?
No, you don't need to spend your own first. The bank will just give you one lump sum.
Yeah, that's right. And then what are your plans in regards to looking after registered patients' kids? So what are you doing for children privately?
Yeah, so we got plan membership, and so far almost every patient has joined the plan. So if you've got kids that are under 5 on the plan, we'll see them free of charge.
Nice.
And we can afford to do that here because we're in a really low needs area, so the kids don't actually need any treatment.
So you mean you do everything free of charge, or just the checkup free of charge?
No, just the checkups free of charge. Yeah, I mean, if they do need treatment, they'll be chargeable, but there's very little treatment need in kids around here.
We do something similar, which it's been a long time now, and you kind of think, oh, should I change it? But yeah, we see kids free of charge. I think up until 11 actually at the moment. So I think
okay, it's more generous than me.
I think I might need to change actually. But they pay for their hygienes if they need it, but the checkups are free at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, from 5 onwards, we just try and get them on the plan.
Yeah. I think that one you've answered already. What kind of dentistry do you offer? I think what they're asking is, does the practice offer everything? Will it offer implants in general?
Yeah, so at the moment we pretty much offer most stuff. The only thing we don't do is fixed ortho.
Yeah.
But as and when we get demand, we'll bring everything in.
And you offer Smile Fast, yeah?
No, not yet. It's on the to-do list.
And then there's a question from Rujiko. Does the bank want to see evidence of your deposit before they give you the loan?
They'll want to see all your bank statements anyway, so they'll see how much money you've got and they'll check all that.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they would want to see some form of security, won't they? And then a couple of questions, which I think you've already answered them, so I'll answer them. How many days are you working in the practice? I think you said 3 days. Do you employ any full-time staff members? You said yes?
Yeah, they're both full-time, yeah.
So you're 2 members. So 1 nurse, one
nurse, one reception. We've actually don't have a reception. So we actually took reception out of reception, and so it's all back office.
Nice. So what happens in terms of payments? Where's payments made?
So payments are all made in the office.
Okay, in the office. So you just go out.
Yeah.
Separate
it's all really more. It's just a lot more personalised. Same with the door. We don't have an open door. It's all meet and greet.
Nice.
Yeah, it works really well. Patients really love it.
No, of course. And I mean, let's be honest, things will evolve, because I do appreciate it's a great idea now, the meet and greet thing. But then when
when we get busier, it's I know, I already know. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, it's nice to be able to offer it. We did a lot of things at the beginning, which we don't do now. Every patient got tea and coffee, apart from the ones that are having hygiene and whitening. Little things like that. And again, I think it's great to be different. That's the beauty of having your own business. You can put in like your love and your attention into it. And then the final question, which I think you've already answered, is that there's a few people asking for the projections and the spreadsheets. If you'd be so kind to share those, maybe if they reach out to you, or if you do a post in the Facebook group, Bobby, and maybe just send your details on there and people can reach out to you directly.
Yeah, that's fine. People message me, or I'll drop a post.
Awesome. Right, that was 34 questions. So a lot more than we got last week. But yeah, really, really kind. And it looks like almost everybody stayed on the call. So we didn't bore them too much, Bobby. But no, thank you so much for your time. It's been an hour and 10 minutes, but I hope it's been useful. I think really it just goes to show that it is possible. Final word to you, Bobby. Would you do it again? Despite everything you know, what's your overall feeling?
Yeah, 100%. I'll do it again. Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things. If you got it in you, just make that decision and just commit and do it. Go for it.
Awesome.
Don't faff around.
Awesome. And guys, I don't know if you know anyone that's still on the call. Normally around June time, I'll be doing the Startup in Dentistry Live 2. Location is TBC. Bobby, you going to be there?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I'll come
Awesome.
down.
So we'll try and do the last one was really good fun. We were able to do like Bobby. Maybe Bobby, you'll share your story again with everyone there. But yeah, we'll look out for that. Please help me on the group as well. I am trying to keep it going. So it's a lot of hard work on my own. So again, Bobby, hopefully you'll be helping me on the group as well now.
Yeah, we'll give you a hand, mate.
You can't say no. You can't say no when you're on screen. So top man. All right, guys. So thank you so much, everyone. Good night and see you again. Cheers, Bobby.
Cheers,
Yeah,
mate.
bye.